Well, hello, everyone. This is John Byrne with Poets and Quants. Welcome to Fridays with Sandy. That would be Sandy Kreisberg, founder of HBS
Shalom,
Group.
everybody. Welcome.
There he is. And we have a candidate in India. He is a current student at an IIT, majoring in electronics and communication engineering. He has a big fat GMAT score, 750. He has put together a bunch of internships at some impressive places. PwC India is one of them. He's currently at the Ministry of Finance in India, and he has one lined up at American Express. He also did an internship at Triba Hotels, the second biggest hotel player in India. Now he's aiming really high. He's aiming for the deferred programs at Harvard, Wharton.
So this is a 2+2 guy. It's real important.
Harvard, Wharton, Columbia, MIT, and Yale, all deferred. He does not know what he wants to do with his MBA yet. He may do some consulting. He may be IB. He may do product management. He's not sure. Ultimately, he does want to build a venture of his own. And in fact, he already has a startup in the law field. He is president of his consulting club. And he has a number of other interesting extras.
Shinmaya, say hi, say hello there.
Hi, hey.
Introduce yourself to the gang.
Yeah.
Happy Friday. Good.
Yeah, so
okay,
yeah.
This you present you're a 2+2 candidate. So let me tell you right off the bat, 2+2 is really, really hard. That's the first thing. Second thing, the 2+2 program, particularly at HBS, they have a slight bias. They're really looking for STEM people. Now, some of the stuff you do is, you know what STEM is, right?
Correct.
Like technology. Some of the stuff you do is STEMmy and some of the stuff isn't. Okay, so my general advice to you is present yourself as STEM-like as possible. STEM yourself for the application. Okay, now I'm going to use you for some general questions that I myself didn't know. Is there, you attend the IIT at Roorkee, right? Is there a kind of internal totem pole, status among IITs, to your knowledge?
Yeah, so I think the internal status is that IIT Bombay stands first, and with no clear second or third, but Delhi and Madras are the second and third, whatever the rankings between them. And post that, the other four top 7 IITs are kind of juggling between the rankings that include IIT Kanpur, Guwahati, Roorkee.
Okay, so the Harvard, Princeton, and Yale of IITs are Bombay,
Delhi and Madras.
Bombay what?
Bombay, Delhi, and Madras.
Bombay, Delhi, and Madras. The BDM of the IITs. Good. Okay, let me address the elephant in the room here. You got a lot going for you. As John pointed out, your class rank is, we've discovered, is kind of, you're in the upper half, but you're not in the upper quarter, okay?
Correct.
So that's what a 7.2 translates at IIT Roorkee. My guess is that's for 2+2, boy, 2+2 is very selective. They're biased towards STEM people. I think getting into a 2+2 program at HBS or Stanford with that class rank, boy, you're gonna have to present a lot to overcome that, if it's possible at all. You've got a great job at the Ministry of Finance. That's always impressive. So I would, and you're doing that now, right?
Correct.
And then you've got an offer from American Express that's also, a world corporation, very impressive. So the question becomes, is that enough to outweigh the low GPA. John, what do you think?
I'd say for an Indian male who is an engineer, no, because of
Well,
course the
you're being very Sandy-like, John.
yeah, the competition is just severe, and there are a lot of Indian male engineers in the pool. So and you'll be compared with them, and they'll have higher GPA, they'll have equivalent GMAT scores, and they may have gone to Madras, they may have gone to Delhi, to Bombay. So that's what you're competing with in the Harvard pool, which makes it much more difficult. Now, some of the other pools that you've considered here, you're going to stand out a bit more, I think.
Yeah, I certainly agree with that. So I would say and 2 + 2 is always hard.
I'm wondering, he doesn't really know what he wants to do with his MBA. And I wonder if that is a problem for an admissions officer.
Yeah, no, you got to get that straight. You got to have a goal statement.
And because he's the president of the consulting club, I would just say I want to become a consultant and help companies. That's all. And you can do whatever you want, but just say that.
Tell him you want to be a consultant, and maybe even a data-oriented consultant. Like find consulting for companies that do that they're not general consulting; they specialize in something.
Right.
Like an IBM, an Accenture.
Yeah. Okay. Here's a question for you that I always ask people, and no one can ever answer. Like whose job do you want in 25 years at the height of your career?
So should I explain the rationale behind what I'm answering, or should I just go ahead with the answer? Yeah. So there are multiple factors that lead to my answer. First of all is technology. Technology is here to stay, and I want
let me give you some helpful advice, and this is useful advice to everybody out there. When you're being interviewed by a business school and they ask you a question, answer the friggin' question. Don't go into preliminaries. Answer the question first, and if there's some explaining to do some explaining.
So in 25 years, I want to succeed Elon Musk at Tesla. It's the most.
But let me explain that. That's a perfect answer.
And it's because it's the most innovative car maker in the world, and I want to use my engineering background and my business know-how to run one of the most innovative companies. Bang.
Boy, John, you're great at this. Did you go to business school? That's a magnificent answer. That's worth the price of admission to this confab. That's the way you answer.
Yeah, simple, clear, straightforward.
Yep. So in 25 years, I want to be the chief product officer at Google. I think Google has a monopoly where they can experiment, and they have the leverage of no one else taking advantage of that. And I like to be more of a problem solver, and solving problems through the product lens is something that I've done in the past.
Good answer, but how does that grow out of your background?
Sorry?
Like, what's the roadmap to that? What job? This is another question everybody should be able to answer. The roadmap question.
Okay.
Give me a roadmap of what job you want after you graduate business school, what your second job would be, and what your, culminating job would be, so to speak.
Yeah. So to be honest, I don't have a clear roadmap right now. But if I were to frame it right now, it would be entering into
just between us girls. Okay. That's DOA. You know what that means? If we're getting into real colloquial English. That's dead on arrival. Okay. That's an answer. That's suicide.
Yeah, they want you to be more directed. Even though you're young and you're seeking deferred admission, it's funny that way. I mean, people do really expect you to have a plan of some kind. So maybe you want to work in consulting and learn from really bright people the basics of business on top of your MBA. And then you want to specialize at a tech company that will put you on a path towards your ultimate goal of becoming ahead of product.
Exactly. So I was just going out. I was just going to lay it out like that. But
Good.
it would have been impromptu. I was just keeping this clear that this is not something that I've thought through. But yeah, the roadmap looks like entering into a consulting practice, most probably on the social sides of things, because I haven't really done any social good kind of experiences. So I want to experience that as well, whether that is the thing for me or not. Post that, I would like to specialize in a tech company. And once I'm done
Okay,
with that,
let me give some advice to our general readers, listeners, viewers, whatever they are, our beloved internet audience. Use brand names, okay? Like a good job for me after business school would be joining a consulting company like A, B, or C. It may be
should I
in
take
their
a short?
1, 2, or 3 practice. Can you do that?
Yeah. So post my MBA, I'm looking at a social impact consulting practice in the firms like Dalberg, or the social practices of BCG and McKinsey. Once I'm thorough with the knowledge of problem solving, I would like to move ahead and specialize in a tech company like Facebook or Google. And post that, I think I would be returning to be an entrepreneur, starting something in the field of in the field that I would have specialized in by then, and solving the problems through technology, because that is the ultimate goal. I want to be the founder of a tech company.
Good. So who's a role model for you? This is another question everyone should be able to answer.
Okay. So my role model would be Sundar Pichai. The reason being, he's an Indian. He graduated from the likes of IIT and then went up to the ladder of the
Yeah, blah,
chief
blah, blah.
executives.
That's
And yeah,
okay. That's a good answer.
yeah,
Good.
Here's the thing, even though you're young, admissions people want to know you have direction, that you're not aimless. Everyone knows the best laid plans of mice and men often go awry.
Mhm.
And you can choose and do whatever you end up doing, but with B schools, you got to be pretty on track and fairly certain about what you want to do with your
Yeah, it's
MBA.
called Planet Admissions has its own rules and everybody knows it. But you have to, it's got its own gravity, it's got its own rules, it's got its own night and days, and everybody knows that. But you have to, when you're when you're doing the admissions process, of which being interviewed is a critical part, you've got to obey the laws of gravity on Planet Admissions, okay?
Like,
And that's a long way of saying, folks, you really need your game face. You know that term?
Absolutely.
yeah.
Now, another thing we haven't mentioned to our audience, which is a little peculiar, is your splits. You have a 97 percentile on your verbal and a 74 percentile on the quant, with an overall score of 750. Sandy, what do you make of that, and how will that be interpreted by the schools he's applying to?
I think it's worth explaining, okay? Also, you've got other GMAT scores, right?
Right.
Yeah, this is a very important statement where they give you this little box to say, is there anything else you want to say? And you want to say, my quant score on the GMAT does not predict my ability to do the quantitative work at your flippin' business school. And here's why, okay? I've gotten very high grades in quant courses like blah, blah, and blah, which is a lot more quantity than anything you gals teach there at ye old business school. And I've also, I've also taken, boy, do they ask you about prior GMAT tests on certain applications?
So they just so what happens is, when I report my scores, they report all the accepted scores that I have had, but they have asked to only fill the latest score that I would like to apply for in the application.
Yeah, and so you might add, I've also gotten high quant scores on a GMAT test, so it's not going to be a problem.
Right.
They'll understand that and they'll swallow it, because all they care about is the 750, or am I being too insouciant, John?
No, I think that's right. If this is the third time on the GMAT, and if you have a higher quant score on a previous GMAT, you would indicate that, and you'd say, you spent more time doing the verbal, and that's why the current quant percentile is not indicative of
Right,
your
but
academic
my
ability.
point is, after even though they're certain you're not going to have any difficulty surviving in their business school, in terms of the rankings, which business schools have been known to pay attention to, the only thing that counts is the 750.
Exactly. Nothing else counts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now,
So,
I'll say this, I don't know, Sandy, I'm guessing that you don't think he has much of a chance at Harvard.
well, the only thing that's stopping them is that, if this guy had a first at the Indian Institute of Technology, I would say he'd he would probably get interviewed at Harvard.
Yeah.
The only thing that's stopping him is the GPA.
Yeah. Would a higher GMAT score help him?
Higher than 750? No.
Right. So don't take the GMAT again. What about Wharton, Columbia, MIT, and Yale? What do you think?
I think you're a special case wherever you apply. So I would apply to all of those places.
Yeah, I'm doing exactly that, because I know the CGPA would be, no matter how.
You'd be one of those guys who only gets into one school, which is all you need.
Yeah.
I don't know, John. Do you know those schools well enough to say which one is more likely to blink over a low undergraduate GPA?
Probably Columbia.
Really? I thought they were
only numbers driven on the GMAT, not necessarily GPA.
Okay.
And that GPA, because it's not an American GPA, they don't roll it up into a number that's reported to US News.
This is real inside baseball or inside cricket. And John's the expert.
I'm looking at this group of schools, and I'd like to have greater assurance. So I would add, I don't know how you feel about this, but I might add something like Michigan and Virginia into this group, just because, or maybe even Chicago Booth. And because I don't think Harvard is a shot. I mean, you can go for it, but I don't think it's going to happen. So I wonder if you should apply elsewhere instead, at Michigan.
Okay, let's finish this off by actually going through the schools. I think Harvard's a long shot. I think Stanford's a long shot. I think Wharton is a long shot. And the reason for that is, well, it's your GPA. I think working for the Ministry of Finance is a great job. But also 2+2 is really, really hard. And as noted, they've got a bias towards STEM, and you're sort of half STEM.
And you're in
so that's Harvard, Stanford.
The overpopulated part of the pool as well, which is a big factor here.
Yeah. Right. You're also faced with another problem. Would you go to like a second tier? Would you accept an admissions for 2+2 from a second tier school when your chances of getting into Harvard, Stanford, or Wharton might be better during regular admissions in 3 or 4 years?
Right.
I would prefer not getting any deferred admissions and again applying to the schools that are currently out of my reach. But I would not settle with a tier 2 college. That's something that I am.
Well, then you could make a case for only applying to Harvard, Stanford, Wharton.
Yeah, and MIT, Columbia, and Yale. And then if you don't get in, you just wait. You go and you get your job. You do well in it, and you apply in another 2 or 3 years. That's
when you're applying through the regular process, You'll be working for American Express, which is a real good place to be working for. What are you going to be doing there?
So I would be working as an analyst, and my role would be driving the technical analysis to finally support the business
Yeah, so
decisions.
your job at American Express in terms of getting admitted to a business school, you know, after 3 years there, your job is to cultivate recommendations and try and distinguish. Are you part of a class at American Express?
Class as in?
Are they admitted, you know, you joined with 15 other people, and
Yeah,
that's going to
yeah.
be their analyst
I'll be
class?
joining. Yeah, yeah. I'll be joining with a bunch of people.
Well, one of your jobs is to distinguish yourself from that bunch of people through recommendations or early promotions. Your American Express career is going to count a lot.
And sorry to cut you in. When you said tier 2 colleges, what kind of colleges did you mean?
Anything but Harvard, Stanford, Wharton.
Okay. Got
Yeah.
it.
So yeah, I think you have a shot at Columbia, and you.
Yeah. So I'm okay with a couple of number of schools as well. I thought you were referring to the schools that are below the top 10. So yeah, Columbia, Chicago are something that I could potentially look at.
Yeah, you should apply to Chicago, Booth, and you should apply. I mean, I would apply to Michigan. I just would. I think it's worthwhile. And then
You know, I don't want to beat a dead horse. Low GPA is a tough thing to blink at for schools, although they can do it, and it means less the farther away it is. So I think it's going to really hurt you in 2+2 applications. But during the regular course, they may blink at it, particularly if you have a successful career at American Express.
and the 750.
That's a real thing, and a 750.
Yeah, I mean,
When does that expire?
It would expire 5 years from now.
Okay,
I just took it
good.
7th of March.
You got plenty of time on that. Yeah.
Okay,
There you have it. Well, look, if you don't get into these, you can always hang out at American Express for a few years. Apply again. We think your chances are better as a regular applicant than as a deferred. But do remember, you are in the overpopulated part of the pool as a male engineer from India, which makes your candidacy more difficult.